Hi guys, welcome to my review of GameMat.eu's industrial set. In this terrain series I will be reviewing a whole range of terrain sets. In my opinion, honestly, I've got no sponsorships, nothing's been sent to me for free, I've paid for all of this myself. This is just a gamer's honest opinion of various sets. And this is the second GameMat set that I'm doing now. I've just done the Gothic Ruins and now we're doing the industrial set. This is also one of the oldest sets that I'm aware of. It's one of the sort of original sets along with the Gothic Ruins set. And I'm not as fond of this set as the Gothic Ruins set. It's £115, which is significant. Anything that's £100 plus, that's a lot of anybody's money. Like I said in the last video, it's about a third of what I make in a week. So when you drop money on this sort of thing, it's a big commitment. It's a big commitment, and I think it's important to have an honest opinion, rather than oh, it didn't cost me anything, so I can just praise it up. So, but having said that, this isn't just to be negative review. This is a good set. It has certain issues that I have with it, but it's fundamentally I say it's a good set. There are some parts that I like, some that I'm not so fond of. I'm going to put it all out on the table in a minute with some models and really show it in detail and really talk about the things that I want to talk about. But just as an overview, these are probably some of my favourite elements from any terrain set. I love them. These big nice bricks. I think that they should sell a set of them, 8 of them or 10 of them. Just on their own, I would buy it. I think they're great. Some of the best big line of sight blocking type models that I've got, really. You can paint them. Now, speaking of paint, actually, that is one of the issues I have with this set. As far as these pre-painted terrain sets go, it's really not painted very well, or very much. It's basically just brown. It's basically just brown with a different brown dry brushed over it. From the other products that GameMat.eu offer, comparing it to those, it's not really very good. Most of their other kits are painted much better, and so are other alternatives from different sites. It's definitely a set that you're going to want to repaint yourself. I don't know if I'll get around to it, but considering the point of these sets is for them to be pre-painted and ready to go for busy people or lazy people like me, it's not really painted to the standard that I would like it to be. It needs a lot of work to really look professional. And you do see it repainted a lot in other people's videos. If you watch Striking Scorpion or Winters or something, I think most people have really repainted them in their own colours, because it's just brown. But having said that, it's okay. It's okay. I'll talk more when you see it in detail. So speaking of the detail, here you go. Here's the big layout. Okay then, guys. I've set up the terrain on the table and put out an array of models to hopefully give this the fairest chance of demonstration as possible. If I come back a little bit, you can just about see the whole table. This is a 6x4. It is the older 6x4 size, so if you were using the newer sizes it would be a little bit more compressed. So initially you can see that this set alone does make for quite a sparse table, and aside from the large pile of blocks there's not a huge amount that's drastically tall in the way of line of sight blocking. However, there might be a few more models on the table than you can see, because I have tried to position them in ways that do benefit from as much line of sight blocking as they can get. So starting with this big block here specifically, there is in fact a knight behind it. Now I love these big blocks. I think that they're definitely my favourite thing in this particular set, and I think they're one of the better things you can get anywhere, really. I love these blocks. I really love them. Now you don't need to stack them up like this, obviously, and waste all 4 of them in one place. You could still hide a knight just by having them one on top the other there. That's the knight easily blocked. I've got this Land Raider next to it here. You can see I could put just one in front of them. Actually, that easily hides a Land Raider by itself. So you could have them doubled up like this. You could put them singly around the table like this, and you get 4 pieces of terrain. They're really good. You can hide a lot of stuff behind them. They just feel good and solid in your hand. You could really use them on somebody that was cheating if you wanted to, sort them out. So you get 4 of those, and then you get 4 of these smaller generators. Now these are not one of my favourites. They're fairly small and they have a lot of rounded angles. If we just come over here, you can see I've got a squad of Marines by it. The lighting isn't so great over here, it's in the shade a bit, but you can just about make out some Marines. It's easily big enough to block a small squad of Marines, mostly depending how you position them. You can easily hide a squad of Marines behind them. But really when it comes to anything bigger, such as a tank, you can see over here I've got a Vindicator. Now depending on the angle, you might be able to just completely hide this Vindicator. It's got the combi bolter on top, and I think you can see the gun, but you know, depending on the angle, you could potentially completely hide one. Something like a Rhino should be able to easily get out here. So you get 4 of those, and then this really big generator here. Now I've got my Dreadnought next to it. You can see it is tall enough to hide a Dreadnought. It is tall enough to hide a Rhino behind it. But you know, honestly, aside from smaller models like that, or of course more infantry, it's not hugely line of sight blocking. Anything taller than about a standard sort of Dreadnought Rhino tank will be visible. So really you're relying on these large blocks here, especially double hat on. Ignore Starbucks, he's the only opponent I'm allowed over during COVID. You know, aside from these large blocks, there's really not a huge amount of line of sight blocking terrain. Now you also get 12 of these cargo boxes, and these are actually another one of my favourite pieces from this kit. Even though they're quite small, they're solid, they're not hollow, they're very nice and heavy, and I've used them in a good couple of games even if I'm not really using this set, because they still just make for really good debris. And as you can see, there's another squad of 5 Marines here. They're nicely hidden. You know, you could bunch them up tighter if you wanted to, or have them looser. They definitely do the job, and they're pretty nice looking. You could use these on any board really, even if you weren't using this set. And then in the middle we've got these, you get 2 of these, sort of triple barreled piles of pipes. Now they're definitely something I'd consider, you know, maybe the cheapest element to this. They essentially are something like you'd buy in an aquarium to put in a fish tank, but they do the job. As you can see, I've got 3 Terminators behind it here. Definitely hides those from line of sight pretty nicely. They're okay. They're not really the main feature from this terrain set. And then behind them I've got the Mauler Fiend. He would not fit behind anything like this or one of those. He would definitely be hidden behind one of these nice blocks though. Let me just see if I can bring him over there. So he's again nice and safe behind the block. So overall, I do think there's a good bit of use out of this set, and I don't want to seem as though I'm coming off as negative, because what I think about this set is it's a good additional set. I would say maybe if you had something like City Ruins to begin with, and then got this to add to that, it is nice. It gives you giving you these generators. If you already have a set of ruins or something, then adding the generators does give you a technological feel that you might not have otherwise. So if I get down, just bear with me 1 second. Something like this. This is a Pegasus ruins, Pegasus terrain kit. Obviously quite gothic, quite good for 40k, but it's there's nothing technological about it. So if you've got a set like this with your power generators, it's going to help out with that 40k look. That being said, I do think this is a good set of terrain. It's, as I mentioned already, it's £115, which isn't cheap for anybody. And it's, you know, as far as these terrain kits go, it's not really painted that much. Some things are really not painted at all. Other things have, you know, pretty standard dry brushing, but for the most part it's just kind of brown. And I definitely think it's a kit that you're going to want to paint yourself. I do think 115 is a bit too much for this kit, compared to some others out there, which I'll review another time. I think that, you know, maybe, well, I wouldn't know, maybe £80 would have been a bit better, just because if you compare it to some of the other kits that, you know, they themselves make, their other terrain kits, the painting is very basic compared to what else they offer for, you know, similar price points in other sets they've got that have a bit more detail and a bit better paintwork. These large boxes, they are prone to having clear mould lines on them, especially on the ends. They can be a bit, you know, a bit dodgy, like this one. Doesn't really look very good. And they're all like that. But that's the main thing, really. These kits, these boxes here, with the only kit I really have an issue with out of this set, I think. Everything else is pretty well formed. Just, you know, there's a lot of painting that hasn't really been done. I think that there's definitely better options out there than this set, and I ultimately do not recommend this set if it's the first set that you're going for. If your plan for what you want to spend your money on is one mat and one kit of pre-painted terrain, I wouldn't recommend this. I don't think that you get enough to really set out a table, and you may feel as though you have a lot of work to do if you wish to repaint them. I think that there are better kits that have more in it for the same money that is also already painted a bit better. So I don't recommend this as a start out kit. I don't think this is what you want to buy as your first kit with your first mat. But if you've already got some other kits and you're looking to just expand the collection a bit, I think it's definitely a good way of doing that. I think it's definitely going to give you some new elements, probably some more technological elements, especially if you've already bought something like the GameMat.eu Gothic Ruins set, which again, similar to this Pegasus terrain, is fully medieval. There's no technological elements, so adding these power generators and things is definitely going to be a good step to making it look a bit more 40k. Okay, so having seen that, we'll just summarise the end of the video. I do think it's a nice set. I think it's a good set. I'm happy I have it. I don't think I'll ever buy another one. I don't think there's any reason to, again, other than maybe to get some more of these. I would like more of them. I do not consider this a good starter set. Don't consider it a good starter set. I don't think that you get enough for the money, and I don't think that what you do get, aside from these, is particularly good at, you know, blocking line of sight and that sort of thing. These sort of generators, they're good for being movement blocks and maybe hiding a bit of infantry behind, but really it makes for a pretty sparse table. So, you know, if you were just to buy this and a mat, I don't think that's a good starter kit. I do, however, think it's a good kit if you've already got some, you know, maybe some buildings, some other buildings or some other ruins. I do think it's a good set to put with something and add, you know, a technological element or an industrial element. It's not quite there when it comes to being its own standalone set, in my opinion. I would like it to be a bit cheaper. I think you know, for the standard that it's painted to and what you actually get in the set, I think more like 80 quid, £90 would be better than 115. But you know, it's not terrible. I bought it, obviously. I am happy to have it, but there's definitely better stuff out there for your money. You know, if you're going to drop £115 on a sci-fi terrain kit, you know, there's better options for you. But having said that, I do think it's, you know, I give it a positive opinion. It's a decent set. They could drop this and this and this and everything else for 10 more of those, and I'd be a lot happier. But yeah, it's a good set. It's okay. It's I just don't want. I wouldn't recommend anybody, you know, really, you know, saving up to buy this to be their main terrain set if you don't, you know, if you're maybe younger, or you know, you have more things like kids, you know, to pay for, because I don't have any kids. Then, you know, I wouldn't want somebody to sort of save up and really dump their money on this. I think that there's better options for you. But you know, that being said, it's decent enough, and thank you. I hope I will see you in the next review.